The Akkadians were the first to unite Sumer and northern Mesopotamia. Sumer gave way to the Akkadians around 2300 BC as Sargon overthrew the Sumerian king. Sargon's legend says that his mother entrusted him to fate by launching him on the Euphrates River in a pitch-covered basket. A farmer drew him to safety and reared Sargon as his own. Here's a sculpture that's the head of an Akkadian ruler from Nineveh, Iraq, around 2300 to 2200 BC. This is made of bronze, and it's 12 inches high. Now, Sargon's sons managed to lose most of their inheritance. It was not until his grandson Naram-Sin came along that Akkadian rule reestablished itself for a short period. The head in this slide is thought to be a portrait of Naram-Sin or Sargon himself. Now, several factors cause this head to be unusual and unique to this point in our studies. First off, it's bronze, so the age of fine metalwork had arrived at this point. Secondly, it's a combination of a naturalistic and stylized handling of the head. If you look at the area around the nose and the mouth and the eyes, it's very natural. Yet the way the beard and the hair is handled is very abstract, very stylized, and it's an interesting combination. I think it's one that's very arresting. A third point that we can make is that early archaeological efforts were little more than jewel hunts. That's why we have the destroyed eye socket in this sculpture. Now, another possible explanation was that this was looted in war for those same jewels that would have formed the eyes. Here we have the Victory Stele of Naram-Sin, 2300 to 2200 BC, stone, 6.5 feet tall. And the triumphs of Naram-Sin are seen in this Victory Stele. Now, how are the figures innovative? They're naturalistic. How are they traditional? Well, we have simultaneous profiles and frontal views. Now, what sort of implied ordering is viewed here? Hierarchical again. Naram-Sin is close to the gods, and he's also much larger than the other figures. Now, the empire of the Akkadians was brought to an end by the Gutians. This is Gudea from Iraq, dating from around 2120 BC. This is made of diorite and is 29 inches high. Now, Gudea, pictured here, seems to be a most prayerful fellow. In fact, he was a war collaborator who participated in the destruction of the empire that he'd been associated with. Agade, the great city built by Sargon, which may hold many treasures, was so devastated by war that its ruins have yet to be discovered. Now, what's unusual about this fellow? First off, his pose is reminiscent of the Tell Mar figures we looked at earlier. And second, he was carved from a very hard, rare, and imported stone, which caused the sculptor to make do with his materials. And this results in a sculpture of a rather squat man. Perhaps this is how he deserves to be remembered. The diorite or dolerite material is a large reason behind its excellent condition today. And here is the head of Gudea, also made from the same material, perhaps from that exact same statue. We're going to look now at Babylonia, and Babylon was one of the city-states in Mesopotamia. Its most famous son was Hammurabi. What was Hammurabi famous for? Well, we'll see in the next slide. This is the upper part of a stele that's inscribed with the Law Code of Hammurabi. Dates from around 1760 BC, also made of diorite. The height of the relief that we're looking at here is 28 inches. Now, Hammurabi was famous for the code of laws that he is seen receiving from the sun god Shamash in this stele. I want to show you now what the entire stele looks like. This is the entire stele inscribed with the Code of Hammurabi, same date, 1760 BC. The height here is 7 feet tall. Now, the code was greatly valued and was stolen throughout ancient times, even as late as 600 years later by the conquering Elamites. Hammurabi took 34 years to build his empire, and as a result, he was not always widely respected by his contemporaries until he crushed potential conquerors. Now, what was Hammurabi's code? Let me give you some examples. First off, if a surgeon opens an eye infection with a bronze instrument and saves the man's eye, he shall take 10 shekels. If he destroys the man's eye, he shall have his hand cut off. I think that probably the medical practice would be the last thing that I would want to go into during this time period. If a house builder builds a weak house and it collapses, killing the owner, so too shall the builder be put to death. You're very responsible for your own actions in this time period. Third, if the wife of a man is caught lying with another man, bind them together and throw them in the water. If the man wishes to spare his wife, the king may also spare the subject. Here is a architectural piece called the Lion Gate from Anatolia in Turkey, dating from around 1400 BC. Now, the Hittites eventually brought down Hammurabi's empire and brought a new art with them. Now, the Lion Gate of 1400 BC differs from the sculpture that we've quickly become accustomed to seeing in that it's less natural, and there is a very strange dependence on the architectural elements. The lions, in this case, are not exactly high or low relief, either one.